Hey friends, welcome again to the Lighthouse Podcast. My name is Alex Camargo, and I'm here with a great friend, a mentor, somebody that I'm constantly in touch with. And today we're going to talk about insurance. Stay tuned. Mr. Fabian Durango. Welcome to our podcast, brother.
Thank you, Alex. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah,
Finally, we get together.
I know, man. It's really cool to have you here because I get to discuss technical questions about insurance where in most cases in what we do, everybody else is talking about real estate and mortgages, and then we don't get enough into this field. And I know there's some red tape on what insurance agents can or cannot say on their podcasts or on their social media. So there's plenty of real estate agents talking about real estate and mortgage agents talking about mortgage, but there's not enough insurance agents out there. And I understand, again, red tape. So I know that you're limited to as to what you can say. But you're an open book. So
totally open book.
Yeah, good. So tell us about yourself. So who are you? What do you do?
Awesome. So I'm not your average insurance broker or agent, I'll tell you that. But I've been in the insurance industry since 1996. I started as an intern. At
what, 12 years old?
Shh, don't tell nobody. That's the red tape. I'm just kidding. 16 years old. It was a forced internship by my dad. He didn't want me going to work after school. I was going to take a regular retail job after school. After not making the basketball team, I was a little bit like, okay, well, if I'm not going to play basketball, I might as well put some money in my lunch bag, you know? And I took a retail job, and my father was so upset. He drove to the place, told the manager I'm 16, that I'm not an adult, that he's withdrawing me from the job. And then he drove me to his insurance agent's office and said, my son's willing to come after school every day at 1 and for free do whatever you need. I mean, I was so furious, Alex, being 16, being told you're going to work for free in insurance, the most boring thing ever. Little did I know my father was a blessing. I fell in love with insurance immediately. And that was in 96. Fast forward, while in high school, I studied for my insurance exam. And 4 days after high school graduation, I got my insurance license.
That's awesome.
And then finally, I started getting paid.
That's awesome, man.
Almost 3 years in, I got my license. But all those challenges were all a blessing, because if it wasn't for not getting paid, I wouldn't have gotten my license so early. If I didn't get my license so early, I wouldn't have the opportunity to get hired by another agent who hired me to run their new office. And it was all with the blessing of my existing boss. Nothing was done, kind of like nowadays, a little cutthroat. Everyone was like, he's the youngest licensed rep. Go ahead and take him. And I started with this agent in office from scratch at 19 years old. So at 19 years old, I got the entrepreneurship, mentorship, and experience. I learned how to lift an insurance book from scratch, from the owner's perspective. And at 23, I opened my own insurance broker on my own. I was the youngest all-state agent in the States to open up an independent agency with no help and no inheritance. So I did it just like anyone off the street.
Wow, that's crazy. At 23?
23 years old. While my friends were out in college partying, I was pulling 18-hour days.
That's crazy. Well, it definitely paid off. I'm sure you make more money than your friends.
Red tape. Some of them. I think one I don't.
But so that was 20-something... 20 years ago.
Yeah, 20. So 2003, I opened my agency, which last year, September, was our anniversary, 20th anniversary. I can't believe it. And then I started insurance in 96. So that's almost 28 years.
That is awesome. And
27 years.
I'm aware of where some of your offices are, but I may not know where all of them are. Where do you have locations? I mean, I know you cover the whole state, right?
Correct. We're proud to be the largest family-owned and operated retail agency in the state, meaning we're not owned by anyone, partnered by anyone, part of any franchise. We are in Norwalk, Stamford, New Haven, New Britain, and Bridgeport, and growing. We're looking to grow.
That's awesome.
While everyone's driving away from the brick and mortar, especially in my industry, we're actually seeing the need for more brick and mortar.
Yeah, I got a call
services.
from a friend, and his dad has insurance with one of the online services, and he was like, hey, do you know any insurance agents, because my father actually wants a brick and mortar where he can go and see somebody. And I appreciate that, because we'll probably go into the area of insurance that I like to discuss with my own clients in real estate. If you're only getting insurance, if you're only getting the bare minimum of insurance, especially if you have assets, you are very much exposed. You're very much at risk.
Correct.
Right.
Absolutely.
And we're working with a couple of clients right now, and we've been going back on what endorsements were. I've mentioned a couple of endorsements that I like my clients to have, and you fully agreed with them, and then you recommended some more based on their individual situation. You can't get this from, I'm not going to mention names, but from whatever online service.
Right.
That you go in and you plug in everything that you want, and then they spit out a quote, and then you move forward and you buy that quote.
I agree.
But nobody ever asks you, do you have any pets? Do you have any jewelry? Do you own
any other assets to protect?
Yeah.
Is your basement finished?
Yeah.
Do you have a trampoline, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So to me, an insurance agent is an essential part. I'm an essential member of the community, right? Because we're buying protection.
Correct.
But somebody to actually have these conversations, somebody who gave you 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour of their day to actually get to know you individually and see what your needs are. Granted, are you going to pay a little more insurance? Yeah. But you have to know what you're protected for, right? Sometimes, you get a homeowner's insurance policy, right? That doesn't protect against flood. And you may think, okay, I'm not in a flood zone. But if two neighbors who live in the sloping slot up from you change the current drainage system that they have, and all of a sudden there's a huge rainstorm, and then all that water rolls down to you, that's a flood, isn't it?
Yes, it is, and that's not covered by homeowners insurance. And you're right, people don't take, in my industry, when I first started, I started in the 90s, we were taught you spend minimum half hour with the client doing a needs analysis. Your .com companies killed that value. The 800 number killed that value, and it made people believe that they can buy insurance on their own. And it's only beneficial to the insurance company that you are making uneducated decisions, that you're going in impulse based on price, and they're winning. Because you know what? Insurance companies don't make money collecting premium from you. They make money denying claims.
Yeah, not paying them.
Paying the claims.
Yeah.
So when you go online and you buy insurance on your own, and you're talking to an 800 number person who can be in Albuquerque, New Mexico, India, Venezuela, Florida, they don't know your insurance needs in Connecticut. They're not ever going to connect with you on a personal level. They're selling you insurance a 10-year-old can purchase, but then when you have a claim, you're unprotected. And one thing, Alex, not all the time, but to be honest with you, you can get a professional to give you a full hour of the day, a full needs analysis, top-notch protection, and it can sometimes be the same price or even cheaper than the low bare minimum policy.
Yeah.
Not all the time, because value and quality has a price behind it, but a lot of times the market will sustain that if the job is done right.
Yeah. So when and to your point, all of my clients buying homes, I give them the half an hour, 45 minutes to discuss insurance, and because I don't know where they're buying insurance from, and I try to give them good recommendations, but of course they're free to choose whoever they want, right? So sometimes they'll go right back to the .com or to the online store and get all the homeowners insurance policies that they need and call it a day. But at least I did my part. I gave my recommendations, right? So when we're having that conversation, I'm like, look, if you have state minimum insurance for your vehicles right now, right? And you're buying a house, you're buying this asset, you put, 10, 15, 20% down, and you get into an accident and you hit a Lamborghini on the road, state minimum insurance is not going to cover the damage in that Lamborghini, let alone your car, but your liability is not going to cover that, right? Your liability coverage is not going to cover that, right? So
Correct.
automatically, I tell my clients you need to up your insurance coverage to at least $300,000 and $500,000 if there's not too much of a difference in price there, or depending on what you have to protect. And then I tell them, you might as well, as you're having that conversation with the insurance agent, ask for an umbrella policy. $300-400 a year in most cases, you can get a $1 million additional coverage.
Correct. You're absolutely right. And I want to correct you. You don't have to hit a Lamborghini. You could hit my I think my Tesla just evaluated a little, but by my $30,000 Tesla and be short. Yeah. Because state minimum only covers $25,000 in property damage. So my Tesla's worth $32,000. It's a total loss, and I'm down $10,000. And your company gives me a $25,000 check, and I find out that you own a home. Now I can go after the difference, putting a lien against your house, and now my neck hurts. Yeah. And now the lawsuit gets bigger.
You get this helicopter bill.
Correct. And then it just gets crazy. And from a simple car accident, without knowing, you are now having a lien put against your house. You are now going to court, and you're paying out of pocket for legal expenses. And sometimes people don't realize, and this is probably the red tape, but I'm comfortable saying this. Insurance sometimes can be a prepaid paralegal service or prepaid legal service, because any lawsuit brought against you, we will hire an attorney, we will defend you, we will protect you, we will try to defer any fraud, and if you have the right coverage, like you said, we'll pay enough to cover all your assets and have no one put a lien against your home. Yeah. Sometimes people have the right coverage, but by not having an umbrella, they might not cover it all, and now they're having a lease against you. And the best thing to what you said is, the more assets you have, the more you're worth, the more your retirement grows, your investment portfolio grows. You got to make sure you have the right coverage to protect all of that. Now, so
and if you're growing, if your assets are growing, then
your insurance
should be exactly adjusted to that. One of the things that I'd like for you to touch on. Many people have been paying the same insurance policy for 20 years in their house that they bought 20 years ago. Values and cost of construction have risen so much. Let people know how important it is for them to revisit their policy.
You could have the best policy in place, Alex, and the best agent, probably me. And you could be very comfortable with all the terms and conditions, but you should be doing a full coverage review every 3 years. Or, like we like to say, a life-changing event. Death, divorce, in addition to the house, a new baby.
Dog,
definitely dog. Finishing a new area of the house, a trampoline. Anything that's a life-changing event, talk to your insurance agent. It's better I tell you, hey, don't worry, everything's okay, we'll leave it as is, or no, we need to adjust coverage. And you are absolutely right. Policies after 5 years, they begin to outdate themselves just by nature. Inflation, economy, needs. A lot of people live in a house 10, 15 years and then move out and leave their insurance as is. You need to go back and change that insurance to an investment property. If you don't, you have a claim, you're not going to be covered. I don't want to say the name of the franchise, but I spent billions of dollars on marketing. I had a client who left me because of price. He called me and said that he was in a lawsuit and that they're not covering him because the same company insured 5 of his houses as owner-occupied, and he didn't even occupy one of them.
That's crazy.
Had a claim from a tenant. Legitimate claim, should have been covered by insurance. The insurance declined due to occupancy. They blamed the client because at renewals, a legal disclosure here, renewal, it's your responsibility to update the insurance company with any changes. And most of us look at our bill right when it's due. Your renewal comes 60 days prior to renewal with language all over it saying, if this is not accurate, please call your agent to update. Call us if you have to, if you see anything wrong. So if you don't update us, the insurance company, not us, the local guys, the insurance company then has the right to decline your coverage.
Yeah. That's crazy, man. And it's such an easy process, right? I have changes, email, it takes me 5 seconds. Hey, got a new dog, got a pit bull, got, one of the dogs, and I don't want to discriminate against pit bulls. Some of my friends have the friendliest pit bulls I've ever seen, but you name a dog that's on a blacklist somewhere, oftentimes unfairly. Hey, just got I got a new dog. This is the breed. This is the weight. This is the age. And then you
just touched on weight, age, and sex of the animal. You know how many people get offended when I ask that? How dare you ask me the weight of my dog? How dare you ask me the sex? And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm actually trying to analyze the risk so I can get you a better price, because price varies based on sex, weight, and height of a dog. If they've been in training too. So if you're an animal lover, I love dogs, and I think pit bull, Dobermans are my favorite dog on that list. Yeah. But if I can do everything possible as an owner to be responsible for myself, the safety of my dog, and lower my insurance, then I'm the right things to ask all the questions. And if you've got training, etc., that matters on your insurance.
Yeah, that's
Thank
awesome.
you for mentioning it.
We're working on a deal right now where a client is building a new construction, right? And I've been talking to the client about the insurance policy. I recommended your services. And I asked my client to be included in the email back and forth with, your company, just so I can help him. This new construction is all new to him. They come from an apartment, right? So plus it's a custom. Yeah, it's a custom home, so they're still super busy with everything else that's going on with the construction. Is coming to completion soon. And in our conversation, I'm like, all right, let's talk about insurance and let's figure out what you need. And of course, look, the professionals that I choose to involve or recommend in this process are almost entirely professionals who have the same type of personality that I have, which is that of a teacher. I'm here to coach you through this whole transaction. I'm here to teach you. Of course, I want your well-being. I'm here to give you all the information possible, and then you can make decisions with that information, whether one direction or the other. It doesn't really matter, right? I
can relate to that 150%.
Yeah. So in choosing to... in bringing everybody together as a team, because when you're buying a house, then your real estate agent, your attorney, your insurance agent, your mortgage agent, your inspectors, we're all a team, right? We all want the same well-being for that buyer. We all benefit financially from the transaction. We also all want the well-being for the client. At least that's the team members that I choose to work with. So I'm going back and forth with your wife, who's also your partner in the business.
Yes.
Right? And
she's my wife at night and my partner during the day. But yeah, she's been with me the past 20 years along this ride.
Yeah. So we're going back and forth, and this is the lot where my client is building a house. It's a slightly sloping lot, and I'm talking to my client. Hey, let's add sinkhole protection and landslide protection to your lot. Everybody's been there. They've done all the tests, surveyors, the builder, all of that, blah, blah, blah. We're changing the earth here. We excavated, we put a foundation in place. This lot is not flat, right? And granted, sinkholes can happen anywhere. But because we disturbed the earth, right, we're building a new house. Even if they choose not to keep, sinkhole and insurance and landslide for the rest of their time here, but let's have it on for first, second, third, fourth, and fifth year. Granted, and if it doesn't happen in the first few years, it may never happen.
Right.
But I'm like, we go there, we look at the lot, we see that it slopes a little bit, and there's a possibility of something. We start, I suggested to them, I suggested to your wife, and she was the one handling the quote, and it barely added, I think it added $16, don't quote me on this, but I think it added $16 a year for protection that could be $100,000 or $200,000 if anything ever happened. And it's risk, right? It's that cheap because the risk is very minimum in this part of the country or whatever.
Right.
But it's not like the insurance company has seen this lot.
Correct.
So it's based on risk and like the overall aspect of it. But I'm like, I call you and I say, hey, do you think we should have this? And I want to advise this. And you say, absolutely, let's have that. Especially because it's so cheap.
Right.
I talk to a lot of people, hey, go talk to your insurance agent and ask him about identity theft protection added to your insurance policy at home. It may cost $50 a year, but if you pay $15 or $20 a month to any of these websites, you're paying $250.
Correct.
That's something that you can add to your policy. What are the endorsements, riders?
Yes.
Could you talk to us about that you think are important?
I definitely want to highlight that you're one of the few people in my 27 years that recommend landslide on new construction. Right. Good job.
I appreciate that.
I love that, actually. A lot of people in my industry get offended. I love that. I actually embrace. Thank you so much for the recommendations, because I want to make sure your client's taken care of and we're giving the best value. And my wife was even concerned, like, I think this is going to skyrocket the policy. She was so concerned about price.
Yeah.
Yes, because, she's conscious. We want to be conscious of everything. And it's funny. It came out to be $16. Yeah. And most of the endorsements that you need are like that, like water backup and sump pump failure. Water backup and sump pump failure is so key, because your homeowner's insurance doesn't cover flood. So unless you have water backup and sump pump failure, you're not going to be covered if your sewer backs up into the house, if the sewer system in the street or your house backs up, or your septic backs up due to rain, and or your sump pump fails. Yeah. Now, it's a limited coverage. It's in increments of 10,000, 10, 20, 30 is usually the max, so it's not an all-in coverage. But $20,000, $30,000 for your basement if it got flooded.
You can get the floors redone. Yeah.
Correct. You could at least pay for remediation, even if it's not finished, right? And then if your sump pump fails, also that happens so much. People even have 2 sump pumps in a basement. They burn out. Now you get 6 inches of water. We will cover that automatically. If you didn't have it, you will not cover it. Service line protection. The clean water line is one of the things that gets damaged the most in the house, especially here in the Northeast, because it goes 50, 30, or even up to 100 years without being touched. Once it leaks, it's your responsibility as a homeowner, and it can cost up to $20,000 to $30,000 to replace. Yeah. This is $70, $60 coverage that you get for something that happens a lot and can cost you up to $70,000.
10 years, you spent $700-800. 20, 30 years, you may have spent $2,000 or $3,000.
My lifetime, I replaced 2. One, I paid out of pocket. The second, the insurance.
Learned your lesson. Yes. Learned your lesson.
I sure did. The city came out, shut my water off. My daughter was 6 months old. Said, your line is leaking. Until you fix it, we won't turn it back on. I had to rush, spend $14,000 back then. That's right now like 30. Yeah. So that was a long time ago. Yeah. And I had to get water in the house in 2-3 days, and pulled out $14,000 without even having. Most of us may not have those $14,000. Equipment breakdown. So let's say your pipes freeze and burst, we will cover that. But as a secondary loss, your heating equipment breaks down or explodes, we won't cover it, because that's a secondary damage. So equipment breakdown will cover that as well. Doing a needs analysis. I have a client that if I didn't ask what's your profession, and a lot of people get offended with this when I ask, I would have never known that he needed $300,000 in instrument coverage. Yeah. He told me, he's like, oh, I'm an independent music director in Broadway. I was like, oh, wow, interesting. He's like, yeah, I have $300,000 worth of equipment. I'm like, oh, wow. How do you insure that? He said, I don't know. I think my business policy covers it. If you don't mind, send me a copy of your business policy. He even said, why do you need that? I said, because you're now becoming a homeowner from being a tenant. It's either covered by your business, and because of your line of business, we can cover it on the homeowners. Yeah. And we found out his business insurance did not cover his $300,000 worth of equipment. So we were able to accommodate to that. I had another client who we also covered over $100,000 in technology equipment due to his nature. Another client that thought that his homeowner's insurance covered his lawn equipment. He was a landscaper, which was also in the 6 figures. And when we had a needs analysis, I said, your homeowner's insurance doesn't cover this. You need to get a business policy, because this is heavy equipment. So these are the coverages. I have 4 or 5 I usually recommend that you look at. If it's a new construction, you got the landslide.
Or firearms
coverage.
That's
correct.
Huge, right?
Yes. Yeah. So I ask the clients, what's your hobby? Do you have any collections? And it could be wine, tequila, sneakers, guns, musical instruments, obviously jewelry and music. Music and technology are the 2 most common now, but it can go into anything. Yeah.
Before I officially met you, I knew who you were for probably the past 5 years, right? Never met you, but kept hearing your name from different people. And that's because of the work that you do in our community, right? You're in every real estate that wants to do a buyer seminar out there, like you're the one hopping from buyer seminar to buyer seminar to buyer seminar. That says a lot about who you are, because of course you don't get paid to go to any of these buyer seminars, but right. It shows how much you want to give back to your community. I must say publicly, we appreciate that as a community. You also work with a lot of real estate agents for the same reasons that we work together. Somebody who's willing to take the time and educate me as an agent so I can in turn go educate people, right? So I appreciate the time that we spend talking and that you pour into me and give me knowledge, because I can then, you're teaching one person that can go and give. I don't want to say I'm going to teach other people insurance because I don't have a license in it. Right. But I can go and give direction.
Advice.
Yeah, correct. And then say, hey, this is what I learned. Come see Fabian.
You should
come
discuss
see
this,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
I love what you do. Like, hey, you should be discussing this with your agent.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you something about that. And I just said that today. I did 3 classes today. And I do it because I had a horrible experience buying a home. A horrible experience. Nobody guided me. People lied to me. Nobody gave me advice or options. I'm very gun-ho, and I like to do things. And I was motivated, and I thought everyone had my best interest, and they didn't. So in return, I said, instead of crying, I'm going to use the knowledge that I built to go back to my community and educate.
Yeah, that's awesome. My brother, I really appreciate you coming by and spending, the 20, 30 minutes with us. It's really insightful. And again, it's not going to solve every person's needs for insurance out there, and every person's needs for insurance is individualized, right? Correct. Each person at a time. So we're going to put this out there, and we're going to encourage them to either come talk to you or go back to their insurance agent. Ultimately, I think you and I, especially you, but I am on the same page. We agree that you having an insurance agent is a better option than using a website where you as the client are the one inputting information and then getting a quote back, because there's no conversation, there's no doing the analysis and asking more questions, right? Correct. So ultimately, you always win by having this conversation with an agent as opposed to doing this on your own, right?
Totally agree.
Yeah, so
150.
I thank you.
Thank you for having me.
No problem.
This is an honor. Thank you.
On behalf of our team, and I know a lot of us use you, we wish you a continuity of success, and we appreciate what you do for our community. And I'm sure there's going to be more growth for those 2-3 locations that you're looking to open in the near future. And we always like to leave almost every podcast with this. If you were to send out a message to all of my clients, all of my friends, all of our clients and all of our friends, but all the people watching this podcast, about insurance, about life, about whatever you want, what message would you leave them with?
I'll say work with a trusted local professional. Work with the person who takes their time and asks you the most questions. And just like Alex and I, our success comes from your success, not from the closing of a sale. When I started my business 20 years ago, I said, I don't want this to be based on profit. I want it to be based on affecting people and touching people in the right way. So I could just say work with people that care about you, and their work shows it.
Awesome. I appreciate you, my brother. Thank you for coming by.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Alex.
No problem.
Thanks.
That's all, folks. If you can do us a huge favor, just share this episode with anybody that you know, anybody that can benefit from this conversation. And as always, thank you so much for watching us. We'll see you next time.